Okay, so here we are in Essex at the end of a fabulous Purity Wellness weekend, hosted by the lovely Jo Tiller. And Nick, tell us about your experience of the weekend. How was it?
The experience of this weekend, it's been profound. It's always really humbling to be in the presence of people that are willing to step into their power in a real deep and meaningful way, without any razzmatazz or hype or overstimulation and ungrounded kind of hyper excitement. Just real deal from the heart and soul, speaking their truth, opening to each other, showing their vulnerability, and allowing their innate humanness to really flow through. I always find it really humbling to be in the presence of people when they're doing that, and immensely empowering. I live for it. I live to see other people step into their power. I love to see people moving through grief and releasing the patterns and things that have been holding them back for a long time. And I love to see the freedom, the peace, and experience the freedom and the peace and the joy of when the realization hits that everyone can do it and everyone has access to it, and it's just simply about getting in touch with a deeper part of yourself. I just love it. It's just really nourishing for me. So I feel really good just finishing an awesome weekend.
So the experiences that people have had this weekend, how will that affect their lives ongoing?
Well, when anyone opens to the living truth of their own spirit, when anyone opens to the power of the presence of their own spirit and to the love of their own spirit, even if it's just for a second, their lives are changed forever. That's an imperishable gift. It never ever goes away, and so they will be deeply impacted by this experience, no matter what. But the thing is, if they maintain that, if they use if they remember and they use the practices and the simple little tips just to stay in connection and reconnect, and they discipline themselves to maintain the attitude that lets it flow through them, then they're on a magic carpet ride now for the rest of their lives. And to the degree that they will have the willingness to go with the flow of that, to respond to the way life is going to signal to them to come, the direction that they need to follow, the synchronicity that's going to present itself, the way they're going to attract the people, places, circumstances, situations and things, the resources that life is preparing for them to open the doors for the next step in their destiny. That's all up to them. That's all up to them. I can't do anything about that. I can only bring them into an experience in these couple of days that we've been together. But all being well, they'll be able to make those choices and keep moving forward.
So Nick, you facilitate these workshops in various places across the world. Do you think you'll be coming back to Essex again?
Yeah. I love Essex. Essex is awesome. Yeah, I love it. I've had a great time in Essex. I've really enjoyed meeting these people. I love being in England, and everything just feels good and right. And experiences like we shared these last couple of days, just everything's so real. And just, like when I asked everyone at the beginning, why are you here? Really, why are you here? They could have said anything. People could have said anything at all about the reason why they're here, what they want to improve in their lives. Yeah, they could have said anything. No one said anything materialistic. Not one person said they want more money, or they want a bigger house, or they want, you know, anything materialistic at all. Do you notice that? There was just not one materialistic, not one. And it was all much deeper. It all had so much nobility with it. It had so much goodness with it, and integrity and authenticity, and everyone wanted to basically improve the lives of other people and be able to do that, be able to make a difference in the world. That's very attractive for me, to be in a place where there's groups of people that want to dedicate their lives to helping other people, and you know, being really able to do that. So yeah, I'm definitely up for coming back here.
Great, we'd love to have you back again. And where are you headed next?
Now I'm on my way to Amsterdam, and I'm going to do a few days in Amsterdam with reuniting with 3 groups of people that I've facilitated retreats for, 2 in Bali, 1 in Mallorca, and that's the third. So that was the 3rd retreat we just wrapped up. It's called Inner Beauty Retreat, getting in touch with your essence, and it's all similar stuff to what we've been sharing this weekend. So I'm going to go there, do that with them, then I'm going to go down to Portugal for a little week or so, and then I'm going to go to Croatia, and I'm doing a cruise over there with a guy called Nassim Haramein, who's a world famous quantum physicist who has a different perspective on reality and has a large following in the world, and he's a buddy of mine from Kauai, and we're going to be doing a cruise together. He's the keynote speaker, and I'm going to be doing all the sessions, and then I'm going to a whole bunch of other places as well. I could probably sit here for another 20 minutes telling you about, but all over the world basically. I've got to go to Singapore 3 times, and Australia, and Bali, and Vienna, Austria. Yeah.
So we kicked off this weekend with some cacao. Just tell us a little bit, share a little bit about that, how that works. And
cacao is basically the food for the shift. The food for the shift. This shift in consciousness, this shift in awareness, this shift in sense of self that people are talking about in the world is a very real thing. And what the cacao does, and in case you didn't know, who's ever listening, cacao is another name for chocolate. It's the South American name for chocolate. Cacao is in its natural form. Yeah, what I brought today was ceremonial grade Guatemalan cacao, pure cacao from Guatemala, ceremonial grade, absolutely pure, unheated, unpasteurized. It's the main reason why chocolate is supposedly bad for you. The commercial chocolates that you buy in the shops, why there's a stigma attached to it, it's like naughty but nice, yeah, is because it's heat treated. Yeah, it's cooked to high temperatures, and what high temperatures do to fats, the fats in the oils in the cacao, is it distorts the molecular structure. So the body can't actually digest it because the molecules have been distorted, and the acids in the molecules, the essential fatty acids, have been turned into something else, which is actually destructive for the body. Plus, those fats are combined with commercial sugars, and that combination is destructive for the physical body. So the pure cacao that I bring and that I use, and we use it in a ceremony. So we're not just eating it as a munchie, we're using it in a ceremonial, ritualistic way where we all set intentions. We put our intentions into the cacao, and then we drink the stuff. Yeah, very heart opening, extremely grounding. Yeah, you notice we had a big cup of that stuff, and no one was whizzing and hyper and, you know, hyperactive or anything. It was very grounding, very heart opening, and very impactful. A lot of people were, you know, straight into an emotional process when they drank that stuff. The the chemicals in there, and just the magic of the chocolate itself, and the intention and the power of the thing combine to create a catalyzing effect which speeds up the transformational process, the emotional process, and allows us just to release what we need to release and move into that heart-centered, more deeply connected sense of self, which is the shift that everyone, you know, is talking about in the world, or a lot of people are. So cacao is the food for the shift. It's the best food to help with that transformation.
What would you say was one of your highlights of the weekend?
The highlights of the weekend was, you know, it's a gestalt of the whole thing. Everything that I bring is very, very simple. What I focus on is putting people back in touch with themselves, with their real self, and I delineate between a false self, which is the ego, and the true self, which is your spiritual inner nature. And by delineating in that way, and then providing just a simple little breathing, a simple little reorientation of your attitude and your awareness inside of yourself, people are able to move back into that connection with their true inner nature, with their own spiritual essence. And the highlight for me is watching the impact of that. Stories and you know, just basically beaten down a little bit by their lives, when they get back in touch with their true inner nature, their positive changes becomes different, and this power starts to come out of them. It's like watching people glow, and it's very, very real. It's super grounded. You notice, like, the whole weekend we didn't get hyped up. There was no hysteria, there was no ecstasy, there was no using music to pump the roof and get everyone into this falsely kind of, you know, pumped up state of ecstasy or hyper excitement or hyper positivity. And, you know, wasn't the tricks of just, you know, positive affirmations, pumping yourself. It was all coming from deep. And what we were doing was we were going in and meeting stuff that was coming up, and some of that stuff wasn't very nice. So I get a lot of pleasure, and the highlights for me is watching people navigate masterfully through some really deep trauma, through self-loathing and, you know, super deeply ingrained negative attitudes towards themselves, depression and fear and guilt and shame and all these things that the false self is stuck in a recycling pattern, going round and round and round and round this thing all the time. So I get a big kick out of watching people navigate through that masterfully and able to express from that true inner nature, which has none of that stuff whatsoever. Yeah, those are the highlights for me.
And one of the things that you shared with us this weekend was the Angel Qigong.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's, well, a lot of the things you shared with us are obviously things that you've developed and worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
So the Angel Qigong was one of the highlights, I know, for me personally, and for a lot of people here. So can you just share a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, Angel Qigong is what I would say one of the most powerful spiritual practices in the world. In all honesty, in my opinion, after 33 years traveling internationally, all over the world, going to lots and lots and lots of different places, centers, studying, practicing, researching, interviewing, observing, testing on myself. I would say it's actually probably the most powerful spiritual practice in the world, because it incorporates so many of the essential elements to rid yourself of the things that are preventing you from feeling spiritually empowered. And it's not something that I developed. My Qigong practice was just a standing still practice called Wu Qi. It's the foundation of Qigong, it's the foundation of Kung Fu and all the martial arts. It's a simple standing posture called Wu Qi, where you're just breathing and standing still. But I'd done that for 3 years, And in my 3rd year of practicing Wu Qi, I got the download of Angel Qigong. I was gifted that. It was just streamed into me, and instantaneously I was gifted that whole practice. And so for a few years after that, I practiced it myself. And through the practice, I began to understand the reasons why there are these different facets in the practice. So the whole practice is based on standing in your power. And then from that place, you use forgiveness to dissolve disharmony in your ancestral soul matrix. See, the metaphysical principles is that your spirit is trying to flow into this world through you, but it's not just you it's trying to flow through. It has to flow through your ancestral soul matrix. So all the ancestors that have lived before you, that same spirit is flowing through their soul. And when you stand in your power and you get in touch with that ancestral soul matrix, when you're practicing Angel Qigong and you use forgiveness, you free that spiritual power to come through you into this world. And then from there you can use that to do certain things. And so Angel Qigong is the practice that incorporates all that. It incorporates forgiveness, it incorporates compassion, it incorporates the angelic aspect of your soul, the animal spirit part of your inner nature, the elemental part of your soul, and also it takes you out of, it bridges between the consciousness that you're in this world into cosmic consciousness, and beyond that into your spiritual nature. So you become a living conduit from that higher consciousness into this worldly consciousness, and that's extremely empowering. That is extremely empowering. Yeah. So it's a very, 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 very empowering practice. It's very simple, but it's extremely sophisticated. The metaphysical, and that's a great quote from Leonardo da Vinci, that the ultimate simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Yeah. So as things become more sophisticated in our culture, they become more complicated and more complex. But really, ultimate sophistication is simplicity, absolute simplicity. So Angel Qigong and everything that I'm into is absolute simplicity, but it's ultimate sophistication in there. So the complexity of it, the texture of it, the quality, the integrity of that practice is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Angel Qigong, yeah, I love it. It's the bomb.
And one of the things that I loved that you shared this weekend as well was the fact that you shared with everyone that not to view you as a guru, and that so can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, what happens when people were asking me questions at the end there, yeah, and everyone's asking me all these really deep questions, and I'm answering all these really deep questions. What happens is you can feel the energy where people are their energy is just pouring onto you. Now, the guru wants that energy. You see? Wants that energy, feeds on that energy of adoration, of being idolized, of being worshipped. Yeah, I don't want that energy. I don't want it. I want everyone to be in their power and tap into the living truth that's flowing from within them, that enlightens them and illuminates them. Like I'm saying, all I did was stand still for 3 years in a practice called Wu Qi. That's all I did, just standing still. And from the standing still, I got the whole thing, yeah, given to me, gifted to me, yeah. So this is how life works. You don't have to go and follow people and like that woman was running around calling me the guru. I've got this guru, I've got that guru, I've got that guru. It's just like, come on, just wake up, get real, just sit up straight, stand in your power, start breathing in the right way, get a little deeper in yourself, have some confidence, have some faith, and just let it stream through you, let your living truth through you. So I can feel energetically when all the energy is getting projected onto me with all these big eyes and all their energies, and I'm like, hey, no, I don't want it. And I told him straight, didn't I?
Yeah,
Said, yeah, straight away, you can, if you're going to do that trip, get back in there and, you know, let it come from within. So we are our own guru. Guru means dispeller of darkness, bringer of light. Yeah. So the light is it's illumination. Yeah. So I can help shed light on someone's, you know, confusion or, you know, darkness, ignorance, understanding. I can help someone shed light on that. Yeah. So I help in the process, but we can all help. You know, if I can't fix cars. All right, so if my car doesn't work and I don't know what it is, the mechanic comes and he fixes it for me. Who's the guru? You see? That's the way it works. So I'm just into empowering people. That's what I'm into. And I can feel the energy when it's coming onto me. I want it to go, no. Take it back over there. Take it back in you. You keep your energy for you. I got my energy for me. And we all tap into the source energy. Let's flow that.
So we've had a really fabulous weekend, and you also shared with us that afterwards, if people want to get more information, they can go to your website.
Yeah, they can go to nickgoodpd.com. That's my website. nickgoodpd stands for personal development, and yeah, all the stuff that I talk about is there in audio files and PDF files and videos, and everything's rendered in nice little packages, and there's 3-day programs, 7-day programs, 21-day programs, different kinds of programs for different requirements, and you can just follow the order on the website and have a wonderful time, and people can connect with me through their website if they need any guidance from that.
It seems to be the world is just a pretty crazy place at the moment. There's some pretty mad things going on. So how can this work help us or help society as a whole?
Well, the world is a reflection of human consciousness. So the insanity that we see in the world around us with the war is a reflection of an inner turmoil, inner conflict within the human psyche. The desecration of nature that we see around us, the desecration of the natural world, is a reflection of the desecration of our own inner nature. The disrespect for and lack of reverence that we see in the world, where countries, political agencies, private interest groups will just go and invade another country or culture, civilization, people, society, and just take whatever it is they want. Natural resources is a reflection of our lack of reverence for our own sacredness within ourselves. The brutality that we see being perpetrated against children, the paedophilia, the child slavery, child abuse, all of that is a reflection of the abuse that human beings perpetrate on their own inner child. So the world around us that appears to be around us is only a reflection of our inner disease, our inner turmoil. So every one of us has a different perspective of what they perceive in the world around us. Yeah. So I personally don't watch television. I don't read the news. I don't follow. I don't look at the world through the lens of the modern media, and I just go on and live my life. I spend most of my time in nature and with beautiful people that have really good hearts, that want to help people and are devoted to, or increasingly dedicated to, devoting their lives to doing that. That's my reality. I live in a wonderful world. That's my world. But I'm also acutely aware that I also brush shoulders with millions and millions and millions of people when I'm traveling around that don't have that experience whatsoever, have something completely different going on. And I understand that we can our perspectives interface in a consensus reality, which we call the world. But there isn't one world. If there's 7 billion people, then there's 7 billion worlds. There might be one planet, But there's 7 billion human worlds, and there's more than that of insect worlds and animal worlds and bird worlds. So consciousness is experiencing what it perceives as its world through its own perception. And so the way we change the world is by changing our perception. And that isn't a perception of what happens outside, it's a perception of our own experience within ourselves. So when we resolve our inner conflict, our inner turmoil, we see less war and conflict and turmoil in the world around us. When we heal our own inner child, and when we learn to treat our own inner nature with reverence and respect, these things show up in the world around us. And they are showing up more and more and more and more and more, except not through the eyes of mass consciousness and the mass media, which is where most of the conditioning and the programming is going on. And the whole thing works like a giant feedback loop. So if you're living with negativity, negative emotions, negative feelings, negative thoughts, negative attitude, negative mindset, you will experience and indeed create a negative reality out what you appears to be outside of yourself. That negative reality will impact you and create and generate more negativity inside of yourself. Same with positivity. It's the way it works. So what I'm into is encouraging people to wake up to this deeper truth, which is a total revelation for most people, that what is actually appears to be around us is a reflection of what's actually inside us all. This singularity called human consciousness. But it isn't a revelation when you've studied alternative literature, scriptural, when you understand deep scriptural wisdom, when you have studied truth-filled spiritual teachings, and also quantum science and leading edge, deeper understanding of psychology and mythology and all the rest of it. When you have that, when you've done that research, it clearly tells us that this is what's going on. But in the school system, the modern education system, the modern media, this subject is completely ignored. And what is being encouraged is this perpetuation of this loop of negativity. So the news that we see is negative, 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 negative. The media portrays to a large intent a horrific, brutal world that is very, 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 very scary, with a lot of low vibration emotional drama in it that is an excuse for entertainment. So we're absorbing that all the time. So it's this feedback loop that just perpetuates negativity. And because we're in such a highly technologically advanced society right now, and that loop is going faster and faster and faster. Before iPhones and computers and television and movies, the whole thing went much, 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 much slower. Now it's on fast forward, on steroids, with all kinds of crazy chemicals in the mix as well, which distort the whole thing. So the way we change what appears to be outside of us is by changing ourselves with inside. And what I'm here to share isn't my idea about how life is. It's not the great Nick Good's philosophy on life. It's the most powerful truth that I can unearth from doing all that investigation in these different realms for more than 30 years and understanding some really simple stuff, practicing it on myself and healing my own inner turmoil and all that stuff that I was talking about. The political systems in the world that dictate, that express in a tyrannical way and dictate to the people who voted them in what they're doing, what they're not doing, regardless of what people want or don't want. Political tyrannies in the world that are all over the modern world are a reflection of a political mindset within ourselves. So a politician has an agenda, has an agenda. It's a businessman who has an agenda. So he gets up in the morning and he has an agenda, and that agenda might involve a week, a month, a year, or a 10-year, or 20-year, or 50-year, or 100-year plan. And his whole life is to accomplish this plan. That's a political agenda. And everything that politician does is to achieve that goal. And he will lie, cheat, steal, murder, anything at all to achieve that goal. That's a reflection of our own political mind that wakes up in the morning and follows an agenda and will absolutely utterly ignore the impulses coming from our own inner being that want to do something else. I don't want to go into this office and have to stay in this place all day, every day, feeling miserable, doing this shit job that I hate. My inner being wants to go surfing or play music or do art or to go around singing songs or skip around the woods or go and meet people or go traveling. But I'm going to deny that, and I'm going to live by this agenda day after day after day after day after day. And it might be a 20-year or 30-year or a 40-year or 50-year plan, or a 1-year plan, and then I get 2 weeks off and I can go to Mexico. And then I can come back and I'll do it again for another year or whatever. Oh, we just get to Christmas. And then we can go berserk, and then we're going back in this thing. But it's part of a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-year agenda. To do what? To buy this house or to earn this amount of money so that I can do this or whatever. This is just an agenda, and it's a political agenda. So my thing is, and I've proved this to myself, I'm someone, I get paid, I can charge $1,000 an hour for my time talking about this subject. $1,000 an hour. I paid cash for that off the right people. $300 an hour all the time for talking about this, for reminding people about this. So when I first started to realize these things, no one was paying me anything. And I went through years and years and years of total alienation and isolation from the society and wandering about in nature, just trying to figure shit out and navigating through wounds and confusion and despair and all kinds of stuff that everyone experiences. But I found my way, and now I'm very successful doing the same thing that I set out to do years ago, something that was calling me, yeah? So not everyone is supposed to be teaching and sharing this kind of thing in the way that I do, but everyone is supposed to be listening to what their soul is singing, what their inner being is calling them to do. And they have to answer that call if they want to become truly empowered and liberated and free and be able to exist in a way, just simply living their life in a way that actually positively transforms this world. You can't do it any other way. You can't do it by ignoring that call and doing all of this artificial stuff that might pacify you for a few hours or a few weeks. You have to live your life, the truth, totally and utterly support you. The synchronicity, you will attract through synchronicity the people, the circumstances, the situations, the things, the resources that you need to help you go to the next step as your destiny is unfolding. And when you have the opportunity to meet someone like me who's actually been doing this for a long time, who's been studying and practicing and reading and researching and really asking the right questions and synthesizing truthful information, powerful stuff that works and can give it to you in really simple little things that you just have to practice. That's a real blessing. That's a real blessing. I wished I'd had that when I was 18 years old, just wandering about trying to find the way. I really do. but I didn't, yeah? And it's good that I didn't, because I found it myself, and I'm able to, you know, share it.
That we used this weekend was the Hawaiian practice Ho'oponopono. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Yeah, Ho'oponopono is, what it means is the restoration of righteousness. The restoration of righteousness, or the restoration of harmony. That's what it means. Ho'oponopono. Po'ono, when you're po'ono with someone, when something's not pono, it's out of tune, it ain't right. It's not right, it's not pono. So Ho'oponopono is the restoration of righteousness. And it's just a very simple practice that requires you to have an attitude of compassion. And the way you achieve that attitude is by saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the Hawaiians, most of the Hawaiians, the modern Hawaiians from Hawaii, are descended from Polynesian cannibal warrior tribes. Pure 100% cannibals that paddled up on canoes from central Polynesia to the Hawaiian Islands and ate the original Hawaiians that lived there. And they became the modern Hawaiians. So they're descended from warrior clans of cannibals. So when they have issues, when they have suppressed rage, these are, you know, generally people that are like 18 to 25 stone each, that are genetically descendant from 100% cannibals, not very long ago. When they go into meltdown with each other, they need something very powerful that brings back the spirit of love, the aloha spirit, into their community, into their family, into their environment. And they came up with Ho'oponopono. And it's very simply an attitude of compassion, which is achieved by you saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And you thinking, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So when we do that, what happens is, mentally, physically, emotionally, we align vibrationally with the nature of our own spirit, which is a spirit of love. So within life, the nature of life, and we see this reflected in nature all the time. When you look at nature, nature's just giving bounty all the time. It doesn't do anything else. Every aspect of nature is just broadcasting glory and goodness from its own being. Whether you're talking about a squirrel, or a lion, or a cat, or a flower, or a bird, or a piece of fruit, it's just singing goodness. So the spirit of life is a spirit of love that is forgiving. That's all it's for. It's forgiving of itself through its own goodness, through its own beingness, through its own glory, for the betterment of all. That's the nature of life. So that spirit is in us. If we live with a political agenda and all those other things that I described earlier on, we deny the expression of that spirit. It can't flow through us. And that's what creates the stress. That's what creates the foundation of disease and death within ourselves, is the spirit of life's not flowing through us. So when we we use Ho'oponopono or forgiveness protocols, and we have the attitude of compassion, we align our physical, mental, emotional nature with our spiritual nature. And then very naturally, the spirit of love will flow through us. And when the spirit of love is flowing through us, that's where all the magic happens. That's where all the wonderful, miraculous things occur. That's where the healings occur. That's where the transformations occur. That's where the life transformations occur. That's where you're lifted up and you start to experience and perceive reality in a completely different way. And literally life gets hold of you. The magnetics of someone who's living with a spirit of love, someone who's living with compassion, is extending that compassion out into the world. The magnetics, what they're attracting in terms of their reality, whole different ball game, whole different deal. And so if you want to experience your power as a human being, start living like that. Start living like that. But of course, the changes on the surface also have to be accompanied by changes deep within. And because we have not been living with the spirit of compassion, the spirit of love, the spirit of forgiveness, for generations and generations and generations and generations, all the vibrations of the disharmony are in the cellular structure. They're in the DNA, they're in the genetics, and they're in the subconscious and the unconscious aspects of the soul. So when you start shifting your attitude on the surface, this stuff starts to move, to be integrated, to be processed, to be reconciled, to be transmuted. And so that's where the practices come in, so that you can deal with the emotional, the movement of the emotional negativity, the emotional stuff, the emotional baggage, whatever you want to call it. You can deal with it as it's moving through you. And the practices are to hold you in this space of being, in a state of being, in a container that's big enough and you're solid enough to deal with that process, rather than being overwhelmed by it all. You see, most people, you see, and because this, you know, most of us, we're resisting the spirit of life flowing through us, but you can't resist that. Think of a concrete road, all right, with a little tiny flower popping up through the crack in the concrete. Yeah, you can have 1,000 miles of this stuff 3 feet deep, and there'll be a little flower popping up somewhere in it, singing its little song, reminding you you can't resist this thing. That road might be there for 100 years, but it won't be there forever. But the things coming up through it are going to take over sooner or later. Same with us. Our inner nature will come through. It's 100% guaranteed. So the thing is we have to help it. We have to water those flowers. We have to remove that concrete, and that's in our mind, in our subconscious, in our unconscious aspects of our psyche, which are part of our soul. So you can move into a place within you which is deeper than that. It's deeper than the concrete. You can move into the ground of your being, the soil where these flowers grow from. You can exist from that place within you. And when you do that, this stuff, you can dissolve it, you can transmute it, you can process it, you can integrate it quite effortlessly if you know what you're doing. If you don't know anything about this irresistible force, this evolutionary impulse, the thing that we cannot possibly resist, is going to break you. It's going to crush. You're going to lose your mind. You're going to break down emotionally. You're going to break. That wall is going to break. That concrete is going to crack. 100% guaranteed. So the spiritual journey, the genuine one, the authentic one, gives you the tools to facilitate this process yourself, to be your own midwife, and to oversee this transformation in a masterful way, in a graceful way, in an elegant way, in a way with style that you can enjoy and that you can understand, that you can contextualize, rather than doing it unconsciously where you lose your mind because you just don't understand what's going on. And people are breaking down, melting down, becoming mentally overwhelmed, slipping into depression, all kinds of emotional trauma, emotional upsets, emotional upheaval, psychological issues, and they don't know why. You see? But it's just the same process, except the authentic spiritual path, it allows you to do it consciously and within a context that you can understand and that you can handle. And that's good news.
Good.
Yeah. So come and get some.